Got the bonnet section here. Again, I've cut away all the extra cardboard that I don't need right now. It is important to say that you are going to need this piece that's cut out here, and we'll need that later, so don't lose this. These portions here, they're going to come out, so I suspect some of them will come out pretty quickly. So they're cleared out. Now we're going to want to pop the bonnet and the front end out, so we're just going to run the knife down the outside here again. So you've got the bonnet and the front end here. We're going to keep this piece. As I say, this is important, and also these extra little marks on here, we're going to use those to help work out where we want to put some bends into this, because obviously we've got the bonnet section and the front end, and we need a bit of a 90-degree bend between the two. So we're going to take this that we've only just popped out and put it back in again. However, we're going to put it back in upside down. So it should fit straight in. Now we've got these marks here and here, and I want to be able to do a deep score between those. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line it up with those marks, and I'm going to use my knife and I'm going to cut into that piece. So we're going to need another one of these bends underneath here to bend the lower section in, just here. Now what I've done is I've lined up the bottom of this curve with the bottom there, and I can see that there's actually a bit of a line to use where I can see the grain of the cardboard, so I'm going to make a little mark there. I'm able to just use that line just to draw across, and equally I can use these marks on here to make sure it's lined up nicely. Cut in there, and again I'm not going all the way through, just want to go through enough. It's just a gentle one, so I'm just going to pop that in there and just squeeze down just a little bit just to run that down the side. Okay, now there's one more really important thing that we need to do using our ruler, and that's to score down the side of here and to strip this edge out like we've shown you in the basics video. Any of the bits of card we've used really, we could measure it, but actually all this stuff is the same thickness. So I'm going to line this up with the very edge on here, and I'm going to make a mark on the back side with a pencil. And now I know that I want to put my ruler on those two marks. Right, I reckon that might be enough. You see, I haven't gone through here. And then I'm going to run my knife down the side here and cut that section out, leaving the front bit intact. There we go. So you can see I've skinned that straight out. I've got the front skin left and no marks on the front side, so that's really good. Okay, so skinned it on both sides. We've taken out those parts. We've got a mark in here so that we can bend that. Yep. And then we've scored throughout here, so we've got a nice bend there. And what we want to do with that is we want to recess it. The way to recess that is to get something fairly big and flat. I'm using the end of my knife, and I want to squash all of this down. And also, this is really only connected now here and here, so we need to be ever so careful with this part. So I suggest when you bend it, we put the delicate bit down, and we're going to lift this part up And we can look to start bending that and see where it's bending. Now it's not really bending here, so I'm going to get my ruler. I'm going to put it on those cut marks that I did earlier. And I'm just going to stick that in. And allowing it to bend nicely. So that's bending now, and we're ready to start assembling this. So we're going to drop a bead of glue from that engraved point there all the way around the front, and then we get one of these, this bonnet starting to attach. Line up that corner. Okay, that's not looking too bad. And what we'll do is we'll run a bead of glue around the inside of this just to stiffen that up. Let's get a bead of glue down the middle of here just to give some stiffness to this curve. Okay. Okay. Starting to really come together now. We'll run a bead of glue around the inside of here just to stiffen that up. Okay, now it's time to do the roof, windscreen and sort of the rear section. So in the same way as we've done before, we're probably going to have to use the knife just to trim the last little tiny bits out of here. Good. Drop out of there. So there we go. But once again, we've put some useful marks on here, and we're going to use these marks to denote where we want to score the back side of this, so that we can make sure that we can curve and crease and everything in the right place. Before we do any of that, we want to skim the edges like we did with the bonnet. So we're going to want to have a cut down here and a cut down this side. We're going to want to get these things scored in. So if we start this end, we've got, this is the bit between the boot lid and the rear window. That's now cut all the way through. Transition in first. See where this wants to go. Easy to rub that off later. The etching around here is wanting it to bend in the wrong place, so we want to make sure it bends where we want it to bend. There we go. Our guide says that between this mark and this mark, we want several slits across on the reverse side to allow it to go around this curvature here. And we're going to start laying those cuts in. So if we put the first one in, then we know that we just need to do several then between that. So we've got the grain, you may or may not be able to see, is running down here. So if I slice between the grain, fairly straightforward. And a couple of extra ones just to make sure. Okay, you're looking to make this whole bit really floppy, and what we can actually do is if we squash some of this down here, take some of the strength out of it in that area, and negative points here and here. squash this all down again. Make it nice and bendy. As before, put a couple of extra cuts in either side, just to allow us to curve over the roof. That means the whole roof can be nice and curvy. And everywhere from here down that way is very curvy indeed, so we want to make sure that whole section is bendy. So we'll go ahead and sort that out. I'm going to go down the centre of each of these flutes again, the easy ones. And this time I'm going to use my ruler just to squash into these, make sure they're really done. Okay, that is looking very curvy indeed. That should be perfect. Okay, so this rectangle piece that you've got is going to want to go in here. Now it should fit perfectly like it does just there, and you want to slide that down. However, since we've got a reasonable amount of glue in here and here, we're going to need to do a little bit of work to this to be able to trim out some material from it to be able to get it to fit properly. So now it's time to start attaching the roof. Get that dropped in. And now we want to start running a bead of glue around here, and you want to do the same on both sides, otherwise we're going to get a bit stuck trying to get the glue gun in. So what we'll do is we'll run up this straight section first on both sides and then get that glued on, and then we'll go around the corner and do it bit by bit. So now we've got that guy, we've got our chassis. Next thing we should probably do is make the rest of the wheels. These two are going to form the basis of a couple of different wheel types that we can make. So, one of these can be a small wheel. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the outside of this off. And we're left with a big wheel and a small wheel. First thing to do would be to get one of your dowel rods that you've got, and you want to pop that into the centre of this to make that cross into a hole. So pop it on the cross, push down, and then hold it with your two fingers. Straight down onto the mat, and then all the way through. Okay, now because this wheel is a universal wheel. We can use it to make a small wheel or a big wheel. It has some trim marks on the back side here. There's a danger that this might come loose. So rather than just let it come loose later, if we purposely pull it forwards a little bit, we can actually drop in some little glue tacks into here and then push it back flush again, and that will make that bond strong again. So let's do that. Open that wheel back in. Bear in mind that this glue is going to be hot and sticky. I'm just going to, might want to get an adult for this one. Just lick my finger and just run that around there quickly, and then whip those excess bits off to keep it nice and flush. So now let's build it up. Do it with your nail there. And this wheel can now be built up with a couple of these. And at this point, you can choose the depth of your wheel. So you might want a slightly more traditional classic size, so the small wheel and maybe slightly thinner, or you might want to start building it up. So each of these is 4mm thick, so you can build it up from 4, 8, 12, and maybe even 16 if we go for a super nice wide wheel. Going to keep that nice and concentric. Oops, failed. There we are. You've got a couple of moments just to realign things, and that first one's stuck on. Pop that guy on there. Then the last thing to do would be to either decide to go one stage further. I'm going to leave this one as it is today, but you could go a further ring of depth because we supply you enough to do that. But you then want to take your dowel rod and you're going to glue this from the back side. Blob of glue on there. You're going to push your axle through. And then you want to take your center cap that you popped out earlier. What we're going to do is we're just going to take the middle of this and drop our knife in, and then do it 90 degrees the other way, make a little crosshair in the middle. And then using one of our other dowels, we can then just push down to make a ring circle in the middle. But you'll notice it doesn't go all the way through. Now we can take our wheel, where we've got the axle poking through just a little bit, and now when I take my centre cap and my wheel, I'm going to pop the two together. That's now nice and strong. To do the big wheel, we took the centre and we glued on an outer ring, and then we're going to build it up in just the same way as we did with the smaller wheel. Make sure that's lined up again. Looking good. Again, at this stage you can decide that 3 walls is sufficiently thick, or you could step out again and put one final one on there and make it really nice and wide. Nice deep dish wheel going on. Big wheels, small wheels. And then you can alter your offset, as we've said. So you've reached this stage, you've got your chassis completely built, you've got your body built, and you've got your 4 wheels. Next you're going to need your 2 axles. So without gluing them on just yet, we're going to put this wheel on. We're going to insert it through the chassis. We're not going to trim these down just yet. I'm going to keep it nice and wide, and that'll become very obvious in just a moment. Through the chassis. Right. Okay, Get that on there. Now these are very, very wide at the minute, but we're just going to set the ride height. So we're going to take the body, we're going to place that over here. And what we're going to realise is the body is a little bit baggy left to right. So you need to decide which of your wheel arches you're not using. So I'm not using the small wheel arches. Put that there for a minute. Bead of glue down here, and I'm just going to pop that in the middle of this panel just here. Well, not too much. Now, we all know that Minis are front wheel drive, so this is our drive axle here, and we're going to want to put that at the front. Now, and then if you just do grasp the inside of this and pull out ever so slightly as you drop this over, give it 7 millimeters. Yep, let's check the 7 inside. Oh, a bit keen on this side. Slammed on the deck. I'm going same on the other side. And then leave that guy to dry. The other thing I want to make sure is I match one side with the other. Let's work out how much shorter this wants to be. So the glue is dried, it's nice and solid on either side, and now we need to chop the axles to length. Move off that one, I reckon. Now I need to get this attached. So I've used one of the wheels to wrap one of the wheel arches round and I've applied glue to the back side of it. It's going to do two things. One, it's holding the arch shaped, and two, it's providing a nice solid backing that when we glue this on, I can apply glue to this and it'll stick directly to the side. Get that stuck on. How's it going? And that's the mark where score the other side to make it super easy to cut. And then you take one of your other lollipop sticks and you want to glue these things together. Remember this piece of cardboard we talked about earlier? It's got these marks on here. Let's get that in the middle. And what you do is take your bumper and pop it in there. You're going to make a mark between those two lines and between these two lines. Just run across that. I can make a mark and across here. Now I should be able to just snap that off. And that one. At this point you can choose to either attach your bumper or not have it at all. We're going to cut out these curved spaces to attach the rear bumper. Okay, there. So you have to bear in mind these are incredibly delicate, and what you want to do is flood them with glue to give them a bit of rigidity. So I'll do that to this one. That's a good opportunity to measure that myself. It's about 23.5. Stick that onto my ruler. It's going to act like a heat sink and wick the heat away pretty quickly. Stick on. And then we're going to centre up this rear bumper. Is this here? So they're pretty well cut out. If you do have a metal ruler and you pop that onto there, that will dry pretty quickly because it'll